What up, John? Indoor hydroponics, outdoor organics with an old spent bed of daffodils. The daffodils are done blooming. This is last year's cantaloupe patch, garden, hill. Let's call it a hill because that's essentially what it was. I had a really good production last year with regards to cantaloupe, and we're sitting at day 0, so I'm going to narrate this video from day 0 to day 60, and then we'll go another video day 60 to harvest. And what I'm going to try to grow this year is something I've never tried to grow before: watermelon, Jubilee. I'm going to be doing some things at a disadvantage, but got that bed cleaned up, daffodils pulled out, couple 100 pounds of compost, and then you want to get your cultivator out. Make sure you get that stuff good and dug in. It's very, very important to get, compost and things of that nature dug into the ground. So got the cultivator out, doing a good job getting things mixed up. After that, we want to talk about getting some amendments in the ground. Here's a shot of it, good and mixed up with last year's soil, native soil, you name it. But really, really important because watermelon are heavy, heavy, heavy feeders. I'm going to put some fishbone meal in, crab meal, and fish meal in there. I think I also threw in some kelp meal as well because I'm a big fan of that stuff. What you want to do is get that good and mixed in. I mean, I put a good amount of organic amendment, not the entire box, but good few handfuls of each amendment. Got it good and mixed in. I centered it towards the top of the hill because that's where we're going to be planting the plants, using some Dr. Earth's fertilizer, mainly due to the fact that it's got mycorrhiza in it. Mycorrhiza, I'm a big fan of it. I've talked about it on multiple videos. Good for nutrient water uptake. Make sure it's in contact with the roots, so put it in the planting hole. Also gave a good few handfuls of earthworm castings in the planting hole too. That's good plant available organic nutrient, nitrogen, very little, but the plants can take that stuff up very easily. It's also good for bacteria and microbes and things of that nature, the good ones. So as much worm castings as you can get in the ground, the better for these plants. Here we are at about day 7. Plants really perked up. They look super nice. And I'm going to get ready to mulch this using grass clippings for mulch. But I'm going to add a little bit more crab meal, a little kelp meal, and top dress these things because once you get the mulch on, top dressing becomes a little bit more difficult. And once the vines grow out, they get a little bit more difficult. What you don't see here is I've got a batch of fish hydrolysate mixed up. Talked about that in other videos. Giving that a good coat over the top. That's good plant available nitrogen for these leaves. Again, if you're going to grow watermelon organically, they have to be fed and fed a lot. Again, heavy feeders, heavy drinkers. So you can't really overdo it from an organic perspective. Here's a nice little top dressing of lobster compost and more earthworm castings. Again, watermelons, very slow growers. And they really like a lot of sun, and they really like a lot of heat. All right, so to get the vines going, it takes a little bit of time. I planted these probably earlier than I should have. But they're really long growers. And in Michigan, we do not have a long growing season. Vines are starting to take off, looking a little bit not as I guess, as good as scraggly, I think is the word I'm looking for. Scraggly. But don't worry, we're starting to train these things. And what I want to do is train the vines into more sun. So this hill gets about 6 to 7 hours a day of sun. It's not from morning till night. That's not ideal conditions for fruiting vegetables, but nonetheless, what I'm trying to do is train these things, A, away from my lawn, and B, into an area that gets sun from morning until night. Now it's going to take about 20 to 25 feet of vine to get there, but towards the end of this video here, we're at about foot 15. So believe me, in 30 more days or so, these things are going to be sitting in full sun, especially towards the end of the vines, which is the most important part. That's where our melons are going to start to form. As you can see, around day 40 is when the flowers start to kick in. Mostly male flowers, no female flowers. You actually won't see one until day 60. We're getting there. But at day 50, you can really start to see these vines start to take off. They're starting to trail, be trained just the way I want them to. Things are really starting to come into play here, and we're looking at a really, really good grow. What I'm trying to display here is around day 50, trying to get some of the old leaves off of the stumps. You kind of want those stumps, how do I want to say this, exposed, so that they're not shaded. What we don't want is a lot of moisture sitting on the stump. So when it rains, you want it to dry off relatively quickly, so you don't have any problems with these vines. You're trying to protect those vines, keep those stumps nice and dry, while also keeping them really, really well watered. All right, so I don't want those leaves to shade out those stumps. I want them to be exposed so that they don't rot or anything like that. Day 60, we had a really big storm, but you can start to see, I'm picking up that stick there, get it off there. I'm glad it didn't damage anything. But you can really see these things starting to trail, and I'm wrapping them essentially towards the road around my, near my tomatoes. And again, that's where we get sun morning till night. You can see our first female fruit on there. So hopefully it got pollinated. I did not hand pollinate that thing. So we're off to a really, really good start halfway through the season. And now we're going to start putting on some watermelons. So guys, I will be back with part 2. Hopefully we get us a watermelon this year. As always, please like, subscribe, and comment. And thanks for watching. Peace.